Welcome to the Culture Bar, a panel discussion podcast series exploring, dissecting and shedding light on important topics in the arts and music world which matter to you. In this after-hours chat, we speak to Brass for Africa to discuss their important work on tackling gender inequality. I'm Fiona Livingston, your host today, and we are joined by Andrea Berbegal, Director of Development at Brass for Africa, and we are delighted to be joined by Samaya, Music and Life Skills Teacher in Uganda. So thank you both very much for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you with us. So Andrea, could you start off by telling us a bit more about Brass for Africa and how you tackle gender equality?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us, Fiona. So Brass for Africa is a UK charity, and we deliver music education and life skills to extremely disadvantaged children and young people across Uganda, Rwanda, and Liberia. And our mission is essentially to equip children, young people, and their community with the skills to fulfill their potential and thrive. As we know, music is an incredibly powerful tool, and the reason we choose music and the reason why we work through music and with music is because it doesn't discriminate against race, religion, ability, disability, and in this case, gender. It's a common language that is incredibly powerful, and we use it to champion our 4 key pillars, which are disability inclusion, workforce readiness, community empowerment, and gender equality. And as I said, why gender equality? Because it is welcome to everyone, girls and boys alike. In many of the communities where we work, women and girls have to face discrimination, injustice on a daily basis. But music brings everyone together, and it is through music, when boys and girls play together in the band, that we tackle gender equality.
That's a really great summary there, Andrea, and thank you so much for being able to shed some light on the amazing work that Brass for Africa does and how you see yourselves making a difference through music. And it's a great example of the power of music, as you said, so that's fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. So now we're going to speak to Samaya. So Samaya, it would be wonderful if you could introduce yourself, if you could tell us a bit about who you are and your role at Brass for Africa.
My name is Sumayya. I'm a music and life skills teacher at Brass for Africa. I play a B-flat tuba, and we teach music.
Incredible. And where do you teach the music? Is it in schools?
So mainly we teach music to the disadvantaged children who live in slum areas, in organizations, and in some schools, but mainly we consider children from the community also, because these children are going through kind of hard life, because I also learned music and I am a person from a slum area. So those are the areas we are mainly focusing at, so that they can also develop.
Absolutely. And how did you get involved with Brass for Africa?
So I used to play an instrument in an organization, and that's when Jim Trott, the founder of Brass for Africa, came and brought in some instruments for us, and that's how we got to know Brass for Africa, and I joined in and I started playing with them.
Incredible. And did you select your instrument when you first met Jim? Is it the tuba?
No, I didn't. So at first, where we are learning from, it was like they select for you an instrument. If you don't want, you leave it. So I was given a tuba, and it was hard at first, but later I picked interest and continued playing it. And I feel good about it that I didn't give up, because I'm shining right now. I feel proud of myself.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's great that you found a connection with this instrument. That's amazing. Like, I don't think that many people play this instrument, so it's really amazing that you like it so much. And I wanted to ask, are families generally supportive of girls playing music and being in a band?
So I will say there are not, kind of, but some are. But mine specifically wasn't supportive at all. It was really hard for them to believe that I can play music. It was hard for them because they thought about the disbeliefs in the communities, and they thought about what other people in the communities are going to think about a girl playing music than thinking about what's going to make me happy. So I just forced myself into it. It was hard because doing something when the people you think that are close to you that are not supportive, it's really kind of hard. And I just because I liked music, I just continued with it, even though it was hard, because sometimes you can go for, we used to go for functions and then you come back and you have to bear the abuses. But I'm glad that I didn't give up, and I'm happy that it's because of Brass for Africa. Now my family supports me and they feel proud of me.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was just going to jump in and like explain to your audience, Fiona, that in many of the communities where Brass for Africa works, music is actually considered a male activity, and so girls and young women are massively discouraged to join in and to play the band. It's actually just this week we've launched a new band called the All-Star Band, and we've had an issue with the girls because we always try and get boys and girls together in the same bands, and we've had no problem with boy attendance. Every boy has been there, but we've had the 3 girls that are in that band. We've had massive issues with them being allowed by their families to attend the music lessons. And we've actually had to go as far as to work with community leaders and community representatives to get those girls to education. As I said before, girls are really expected, especially in Samaya's community, to stay at home, to raise children, and to not attend education like the male siblings. And so the fact that Samaya kind of broke the bias and chose probably the biggest instrument in the band is just a huge inspiration in itself, I think.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for explaining that, Andrea, because I don't think many of our listeners will be aware of that situation, so that's really useful to know. And Samaya, what do you think are some of the other challenges that girls face when trying to sort of join a band or to take up a musical instrument?
Discouragements, because you are mainly discouraged a lot because they think band is for only boys, and like not being empowered, because sometimes if you do something and it fails, you need someone to motivate you, you need someone to tell you that it's going to be okay. And then when you try to do something because the family had refused you already and it fails, they're like, yeah, that's what you have to know, that this is not meant for you. But I'm glad that at Brass for Africa, we do things really differently, whereby when you sit in the band with the boys, they treat you the same. They treat you equally.
Oh, that's extremely important. Yeah, and it's sort of starting to maybe change the perception, when you're a young person, of, how you should treat men and women, and it's amazing to be able to experience that through music and doing that together. So no, that's a really amazing way to approach really quite a big issue, in this area. So no, that's amazing to see that actually in action, and that you are experiencing this, Samaya. So that's incredible.
And I think it's also through the power of marching, Fiona. So marching with brass bands. A lot of people always ask, why brass music? Why not violins? Why not pianos? And obviously there's the huge kind of climate issue where in Africa you really need an instrument that's going to be okay with the heavy rains, the extreme heat, etc. So there's that element, but there's also the element of marching with your instrument across the community, isn't it, Samaya? The way you know, for example, for International Women's Day, we always have a girls and boys band marching through the different communities where we work. And so, and it's beautiful. You see our teachers, our female and male teachers together marching through these communities. And what that does is that it inspires the next generation of girls and young women. And I mean, Samaya, you can tell Fiona, but I think loads of times you get followed by children. Is that the case?
Yeah, most of the times we are followed by children and also grown-ups, because sometimes when they see the band, they're like attracted to the music and they feel like we have to follow them. And most of the time when they see me playing a tuba, like they're like, is she a girl? Oh. And then, but it makes me feel happy, because if when other girls look at me, they're like, I want to be like her. And this gives them a way forward, because they think they have this like thing, and they're like, you know, there is a teacher who is a girl and she's playing an instrument and she's doing it well, so it means that we can also do this.
Yeah, it's really important to have inspirational people around you to inspire, you know, young women to want to take up instruments. So that's amazing that you're being able to do that, Samaya. It's really, really, really inspirational. Now you're doing so much. And I also wanted to ask what life skills you think you've learned through playing music.
I will say self-confidence, because before music I was so shy. I couldn't even speak for myself, and I've gained the ability of being a good motivator and a good empowerer to my students, because most of the girls we teach, they are discouraged a lot. And if you tell them your story, if I tell them how hard it was for me to be playing like the way I'm playing now, they get inspired and they feel like however hard things get, we can also get tough and we can compete with however discouragements we get. And this gives them the ability to stand up for themselves and they start playing their instrument, hence helping us to discover their hidden talents. Because if it wasn't for Brass for Africa, nobody would have realized that I'm a good speaker. Nobody would have realized that I have a talent in music.
That's absolutely amazing. And is there one particular sort of moment that stands out for you, you know, where you really felt like this all came together?
So that moment is when we are playing in the band all together. I feel like I'm so close to the people who love what I'm doing, and these people are there for me in case of any trouble, in case of anything. However much they are boys, they are ready to help you out. And even though you're walking down the street and you get a kind of any abuse, they stand up for you. And they are ready to lecture anybody who is discriminating girls, who is putting girls down. They are making them know that even girls can. So that makes me so happy.
That's amazing. Andrea, was there anything you wanted to add about kind of life skills and things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to clarify again to kind of the people listening. So the reason why we don't just say music education and the life skills is actually an integral and a very, very crucial part of our curriculum. And what do we mean by life skills? What, like Samaya said, self-confidence, communication, problem solving. And we've actually got 8 key life skills that we teach through music. And that's simply because we realized that music, just by the simple pleasure of learning and playing music, you learn these transferable life skills. You can't go on stage and perform without having some self-confidence in yourself. You can't talk to an audience on stage without, you know, learning the power of communication. When you're rehearsing, there's a problem. There's always problems that you need to solve, you know, with your pals in the orchestra or in the band. And these transferable skills might seem very, very obvious to us and perhaps something which we just do, and a lot of us just have. But for children and young people who have never received any form of education, who grow up in orphanages, in hospitals, in very, very impoverished rural areas, these life skills are actually what completely change their lives and their perspectives on who they are and what they can achieve. And so the Brass for Africa curriculum, yes, of course, it's very focused on music and music education like we know it here in the West, but it's specifically focused on the life skills that each individual can learn through that musical journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really sort of shows the difference with Brass for Africa and how you're approaching music education and life skills. And it's this whole package, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's not one without the other.
Absolutely. And Samaya, last question for you. What is your favorite thing about being in a band?
Playing music on stages, whereby a lot of girls are going to look up to me as an example for them, as a role model, because it is hard when you're from a slum area, when you don't have someone to look up to. For example, when I started playing my instrument, it was hard because I believed that there was no any musician who is a girl, who is a lady. And then I got a chance to see Alison Balson through Brass for Africa, and she every time I look on her videos, every time I see what she's doing, it gives me energy. And I'm like, one day I will be like her. One day I will also be around whereby people from our areas are looking up to me, and they're like, if she was able to do it, we can also do it.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing message to end on, actually. If she can do it, you can do it too. And absolutely, why not? So that's fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, Sumayya, into women and to music in Uganda. It's been absolutely fascinating and incredibly interesting to listen to. And Andrea, I thought we could just end with maybe if you could tell us a bit about Brass for Africa's latest campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the 1st to 31st of March, Brass for Africa is running a campaign called Break the Bias. And our mission in this campaign is to bring equality to 250 girls across Uganda, Rwanda, and Liberia. What we want to achieve is we want to raise enough to fund one entire year of music and life skills for 250 girls. It's a wonderful campaign, and there's many ways you can get involved. You can make a donation, which will actually be much funded by our sponsor, Acai Life. You can create a fundraising page. You can buy our shop, we've got really fantastic merchandise, and actually one of the t-shirts has Samaya's face on it. Samaya, you don't know this yet, so there you go. And if you're up for it and you feel like exercising, you can also join our Race for Equality, which is a really, really fun sporty challenge. So all in all, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to really transform the lives of 250 girls. And if you want to find out more or to get involved, simply head to our website, brassforafrica.org, and you'll see the Break the Bias campaign page there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrea. And I really hope you reach your targets and you're able to help all of these people with their music journey and developing those really important life skills that, as you and Samaya have really beautifully explained in this podcast. So yeah, I just want to thank you both again for joining us today. And as Andrea said, to find out more about Brass for Africa and about the Break the Bias campaign, you can visit the Brass for Africa website, or you can visit the links in this podcast show notes. So thank you very much.